Hey everybody, today I'm going to go ahead and do what I said I was going to do in the last video. I'm going to do a product review. Probably one that I should have done quite a while back, but it's a pretty neat thing. I found this at Wally World. It wasn't expensive. It was like I think $8.90 something cents, so basically $9 for this thing. Today we're going to be reviewing the Rival Single Cup coffee maker, and I don't normally do a product review unless something really impresses me or really disgusts me, and as you can tell by my long list of videos, there's not very many. But today I'm going to do a review of this, and there's a number of good positive factors and the reason why I'm going to. So let's get started and we'll go through it as we go. This is the Rival Single Cup Coffee Maker. It has a lot of good things going for it, actually. One of the things, it makes a pretty decent cup of coffee. I guess that's subjective to your tastes and what you use, but it does a really decent job. This coffee maker draws about 500 watts to do its job. It doesn't have a hot plate because the notion is that you're going to drink it once you get it out of this thing, you know. And it can brew a coffee, it can brew a full-size travel mug like that in about 5 minutes time. You have hot, and I mean burning hot, coffee. And it's pretty quick and easy to do. It has some neat features. One of the things it has, this thing right here, it may be a little dirty because I just brewed with it a minute ago, is it has the flip down so that you can put a regular size mug in there and it'll brew. Or you can put your full-size travel mug, and when it drips, and it will drip, all coffee makers drip, you know, just how it is. Once you take the mug out, you might get 1 or 2 drops. Has a little recessed indentation there so that you're not getting coffee all over the place. And I'll walk you through the steps. I'm going to put some Aldi coffee in it, which is a good general purpose coffee. I'll brew it and I'll show you what it does, and I'll also evaluate that coffee. That'll also be my first coffee review. That'll be another video. But anyway, let's get started. One of the first things when you operate this machine, you're going to discover any coffee maker that uses one of these, it has a mesh filter. It's a nylon plastic mesh filter. It's like a membrane kinda. So here's the innards of the machine basically. It's gonna stain. If you brew enough coffee, it's gonna stain. So what I'll do is I'll load this up and we'll go through the process of setting it up. It's pretty straightforward and easy to do. So let's get started. So this is the coffee we will be using. This is Beaumont coffee. This is the Aldi product. It's basically their classic roast. There's not really... It's not a bad coffee. I'm never going to tell you it's a best coffee. Any kind of a coffee is a best coffee. It's all subjective to what you like in coffee. I will say, for $2.40 a can, this is a good coffee. You know, and I've had some horrible coffees that were cheap, but for the money you spend, this is pretty good. So we're going to load the machine up with this, and I'm going to show you the brew times and everything. I'll probably skip ahead while it's brewing, and I'll time it. And you know, I believe this does a brew in about 5 minutes of a full-size travel mug. It's pretty quick. So let me load her up, and we'll get it going. As you can see, even for a classic roast, it's a pretty dark blend. For travel mug, you're going to use 1.5 tablespoons. It's not quite 2 cups. So 1.5 tablespoons. So basically, let's see. Let's level it off. Let's see if we can get a little more in there. Shake it off, get it good and level. And into the filter it goes. And then just a little more. Yeah, about there. That should make a reasonably decent travel mug full. I don't like it on the super strong side. I do like fairly robust coffee, but not anything that... So that's pretty much it for this guy. He's done. Now with mesh filters, unlike paper filters, it's very important to shake that. Make sure you get it level. There we go. I think that's about right. because that stuff is going to swell and it's going to climb up the filter, but you also want the water to go through it pretty uniformly so you get good infusion. So that's in there and that's ready. This coffee maker also takes the Tassimo pods. I think that's what they are. Not the K cups. It won't do Keurig, but supposedly it'll do the Tassimos, or it'll do the pods, whatever pods are. You know, I make my own. I don't do the pre-packaged stuff. So that's that for that. Let me go put that coffee back in the freezer. You don't want to let it sit out while you're doing this because cold things attract moisture. So let's get that put away. Alright, getting back to it. This machine, way down in here, if you can see it. I'm sorry, I don't have a macro mode on this camera, but you see that little hole back there in the back? That's your overflow. If you fill it up to that overflow, it is, for a good travel mug like this one, you have a travel mug about like this, pretty good size one, that's more than adequate. Actually, it's plenty adequate. It won't go over. It's like I said, it's about 1.5 cups, maybe 2 cups worth that you're putting in there. I use this. I had an extra carafe because it just makes it easier. You can pour in however much you need by putting the water in the mug and then pouring it in there, but 9 times out of 10, when you do this, you know, it's going to go down the side of the cup and it's just going to make a mess all over your counter. I found that an old carafe works best. So let me shut the camera off, put the water in, because doing this stuff through the viewfinder is going to get messy. Okay, so yeah, here it is. It's full and it's ready to go. Right up almost to the edge of that. You can put it right on there, but if you bump the machine, it dribbles and then it gets all over your countertop. So there that is. Coffee is loaded. We're going to pull the lid off of this. You can do that one-handed. That's not too difficult. This is freshly washed and, oh, still got a little water in it. Let me dump that out. There. And we're just going to pop that in. Pop the lid down. That's all there is to this thing. It's basically, you know, what you get in, what you put in is what you get out. And like I said, it draws about 500 watts. It's a good little machine. 500 watts puts this in the realm of being usable for solar power, which I have used it that way. Now I've got to mash well, it doesn't have to mash hard, but I can't do this one-handed. Well, maybe I can. Yeah, there it goes. Just mash it, and if you mash it hard enough, you'll feel it just very subtly. It'll click. And so there it is, and it is now underway. It doesn't take too long for this thing to begin brewing. And you can probably hear it. It's coming on. So, here we are. And that's about the rate. Oh, it's a little messy down there. That's the other thing about this I need to tell you about. I brewed like 15-20 minutes ago. And it does, when it gets to the top, because, you know, you're dripping liquid into a cup that's open at the top, you're gonna get little flying droplets, and that's what's basically happening there. You know, just a wipe with a paper towel, and it's gone. That's probably what I'll do after this is done. But, you know, that's anything, you know, dripping liquid. That's just gonna happen. So yeah, the machine has not been dirty that long. I actually did, like I said, I did a brew about 15 minutes ago. I'm just doing this one for the review since I kind of like coffee anyway, so it's not going to kill me to drink 2 mugs full. But that'll take roughly, I think, about 5 minutes. I'm actually looking at the clock on this. And I'm not going to sit here and bore you with the whole brew process. I'm going to come back when the brew is complete. But listen real close. Can you hear it? I mean, other than the dripping, it's very quiet. It's very, very quiet. I have to get right on it. You probably can't hear it. Just barely. And it's a fast brewer. It's like I said, it's faster than a normal coffee maker. And oh, the smell of the coffee in this kitchen right now. Allison, she doesn't really care for coffee that much, but she loves the smell of coffee. So, I wish I could share it with her. It would be nice to be able to share, but to each their own. If you like a certain thing or you don't like a certain thing. One of the things about this that I like is because of the way it's designed, and it does do this really well. You can break open a tea bag, and you can put the tea in that mesh filter after you've cleaned it up good, and it does come clean. The flavor comes out of it. There's no remnant of flavor. There might be in the cup if you use your cup a lot, but the filter itself comes fairly clean. You can throw tea from a tea bag, or you can mix coffee and tea. I've heard of people doing that, and that's not my thing. It makes an awesome cup of tea. If you use a travel mug like that, so it's not super concentrated, it puts out good hot liquid. It's not like one of those lukewarm safety crap coffee makers like you see these days. It's holding the temperature at 180 degrees or better. It's enough to actually extract from the coffee and make it taste decent. It does an awesome job on tea. I've brewed mint tea in this thing. I think it's Lipton does it. I can't remember. Anyway, and it comes out really, really good with a little sugar. It's awesome. And I think this is just about done. Just in this bit of time that we've talked, it's nearly completed it. But see, when it starts getting full like that, it starts throwing little drops here and there, but not a ton, but enough to make your machine look ugly. So just wipe it down with a towel after you're done, and you're good to go. But see, just in that little bit of time, now we have a cup of coffee. It's ready to go. And it's still going to drip for a while. It's still making. So you have to wait on it. Hang on 1 minute. I'm getting a phone call. Okay. Sorry about that. Telephone was ringing. I had to go take care of some business. So the coffee's done. As you saw, it takes probably about 4 or 5 minutes. Good hot cup of coffee. It's still hot. I wasn't on the phone that long. So there it is. All done. And we'll just pop this on. And in the next scene, I'll drink this coffee and I'll tell you a little about it. So here we are. A nice, hot, steaming cup of... No, not what you think. A nice, hot, steaming cup of Beaumont coffee from Aldi. So now we're going to review this coffee, and I will give you a synopsis of my opinion of it. First thing I'm going to tell you is it has a pretty good aroma today. It's a good coffee, but I have noticed that the aroma tends to shift, and I don't know why that is. It's in that freezer at all times. It has never been allowed to go downhill. Most of the time the aroma is good, but sometimes it comes off smelling a little tobacco-y, and I think that's due to the fact that my sinuses were giving me trouble the other day, but I have also noticed that some cheaper coffees, for whatever reason, their aroma will shift into the realm of tobacco-ishness, and I haven't figured out why yet. I'll be researching that. The taste doesn't really shift all that much, but I would say 90% of the time, this is a good smelling roast in the morning or in the evening after dinner, whenever you want a good hot cup of coffee. So let's begin. And sorry I don't have my glasses. You'll just have to bear with me. I normally wear them, but not right now. Yeah, it's a little dark in here, but I like a comfortable environment when I'm drinking coffee. If I'm going to evaluate or enjoy the flavor, I want to be in a relatively comfortable place. So for me, that's low light. For you, it may not be, but to each his own. So we're going to pop this travel mug. I'm going to make sure this little hole is open, because one of the things about travel mugs you'll learn as you drink more and more coffee is if that hole has a little droplet of water in it, you tilt it back, when that droplet of water lets go, that coffee's going to go blurp into your mouth. And hot, steaming, burning coffee, a mouthful of it is never fun. So always when you use a travel mug, make sure that little air hole is clear. Learned it the hard way several times. You won't forget it after about the third time, because that hurts like the devil. So let's see about this Beaumont Blend coffee. The initial flavor on this comes off as no bitterness. Some people might even call it weak, but that's just the initial flavor before your palate actually saturates to the flavor of the coffee. On continued consumption of this drink, I'll just keep on trying. You start to get the flavor of the bean. It's not bitter. It has a very mellow flavor. As I said before, it's almost like a nutty flavored coffee. You can definitely taste the bean, and the sugars and things are rendering out to a nice, I don't know how to explain it. It has a nice, if I was to say it was wine, it would be a nice bouquet, and it does have a good smell. It's reasonably robust coffee. It's a wake-up blend, so don't expect like boom coffee. It's like this will get you out of bed in the morning and get you going coffee, and it won't make you gag. See, this, I don't mind drinking this. This is rather enjoyable to drink. If you have people who aren't averse, I mean, how should I say, if you have people that aren't crazy about strong coffee, or coffee that's uber bitter, this is a good coffee to share with friends when they come over. If you have a buddy who's coming over and you guys have to go over something before you go to work and nobody's had any coffee in the morning, this is probably what you'd want to give them. This is also a very good after meal coffee. I've had this after eating steaks and other things. Italian food. It goes well with Italian foods, believe it or not. I shook it around, make sure I didn't get any in the air hole. I would drink this out of a small mug, but I like a lot of coffee. So there we go. Plus this doesn't spill, and I'm near things that I shouldn't spill it on if something accidental were to happen. But travel mugs are great because they keep the heat in longer. Your coffee will stay good and hot, probably through most of the duration of drinking it. The other thing I've discovered about this coffee, this isn't the first cup I've ever drank, is that this coffee, even as it cools, doesn't go skanky. You know, it doesn't go skunky. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not skunky, and it's a rather good brew for $2.50 some odd cents. It's actually $2.47. I think is what the last time I checked the price. That's what it was for a can. This coffee, you're getting what you paid for, and maybe a bit more. You know, in a canned coffee. The cons of this coffee are it doesn't come in a metal can. That's the one thing, as I was saying. I don't like these new paper cans. You absolutely have to keep the coffee in the refrigerator from the day you get it, you know, when you open it, because I don't care how good they say it seals the flavor in, it's paper. You know, and paper allows moisture and allows other things through it. Even if it has a liner, you know, it's a fat Pringles can that they're putting a coffee in, you know. So keep it in the freezer. Put it back in the freezer immediately after you put the coffee in the filter. Leave it out no longer than you have to, because it will go downhill in that kind of packaging. I don't care what anybody says. I've done all different kinds of coffee in all different kinds of cans and containers. And the plastic containers that seal good and tight and the metal cans that seal good and tight are probably the better containers for coffee. And nothing says cheap like a paper coffee can. That being said, though, some good coffee sometimes comes in paper coffee cans. I don't mind this coffee. I'm going to sit down now and drink all this coffee, and I'll give you my synopsis as I finish. But as you can see, I'm not making an ugly face at it. It's good coffee, you know. It's not the same as black silk, but for somebody who likes a medium roast, this is a nice coffee. So don't just run off first thing out on the bat and the first thing out of the box and get you a branded coffee. You know, like I said, play the field. These are good things. Sometimes good things don't cost a ton. That being said, there are some crappy coffees, but Beaumont coffee from Aldi passes the taste test for me. It's not bitter. It's not dishwater. It's right there in the middle where it needs to be. And I would definitely, and I have, when I bought that can, I was down in Jersey Village, and I shared that, and the people who I shared it with didn't mind it either. So, really decent coffee. You know, I wouldn't say it's like the super duper coffee of the universe, but you know, for what you pay, you're getting your money's worth. So, I will now finish coffee, and I will return to conclude the video. Okay, so we're nearly to the end of this cup of coffee, and a few things of note have happened since this was made and since it's been drank and continues to be drank. As this coffee cools, it does get a little bitterness. Just a little, not enough to be intolerable, but it is not going acidic, which is very nice. If you have trouble with heartburn and things like that, you know, upset stomach, this coffee is not so hard on you like other brands. So, that being said, the other thing you have to watch out for, this refers to the rival coffee maker, which I also did in the review. Some coffees, especially super fine ground coffees, and you have this with any coffee maker that has a mesh filter or a membrane type filter like that one has. When you get into these super fine ground coffees, and Black Silk does it, this one doesn't do it because it's a more more coarsely ground coffee. When you get to that fine stuff, you'll get a little bit of fine grounds in the bottom of your cup. And this is perfectly alright. You know, you may not like the texture if that kind of thing bothers you. Coffee beans are edible. Before coffee was ever made, you know, before it was brewed ever into the drink, people would eat the beans, you know, for energy. So it doesn't hurt you, the grounds at the bottom of the cup. They're completely edible. It's not anything, you know, it's just a matter of preference. They do make little bitty paper filters you can put in those machines. And I don't vouch for those. I like the mesh filter. The trade-off, you get a little sludge in the bottom, but you're getting 100% of the coffee, and you're not getting chemicals from paper. I have noticed a difference when you brew with a paper filter versus a permanent filter, is that when you brew with that paper filter, you're going to taste the paper in the coffee. There's no way to get around it, you know. There are glues and chemicals that hold paper together, you know, in the making process, and, you know, that stuff's going to come out. It's going to come out into your drink. Do you want that? Some people, I guess, like the taste of paper. I'm not one of them. And having tasted the difference between permanent filter coffee and paper filter coffee, I will only use paper filters when I don't have a permanent filter. Only. If I have the two sitting on a shelf side by side, the permanent filter is going in the machine and the paper is going by the wayside. So, the travel mug has kept this reasonably warm. It's starting to break down a little bit, but the bitterness is really negligible as this cools. So, And like I said, this Aldi coffee doesn't seem to leave the sludge as much. I actually, the last 2 or 3 mugs of this I've had, I haven't had any sludge in this, so it's not such a grind. It's not such a fine grind that it's gonna ruin your drinking experience if you use a permanent filter. As far as I can tell, it may just be that can that I bought. Another can. I have yet to really, really get a grasp on the consistency of their grinding. The coarseness or fineness of the grind.